Imagine a heat so thick you can feel it on your skin. The kind of heavy, humid afternoon, typical of the Bihar plains in India. In the village of Mushahari, life moves slowly. It is a place of simple routines, where everyone knows their neighbor's business. But in 2007, a silence fell over this villager. Silence born of a horror so profound, the human mind struggles to categorize it. We often talk about the making of a monster. We look for the trauma, the broken home, the years of escalation. But what happens when the monster arrives fully formed? What happens when the predator is only 8 years old? This is the story of AMARJEET Sada. To the world, he is the youngest serial killer ever recorded. To his village, he was a ghost in broad daylight. It began with a disappearance that felt like a tragic accident. Chunchun Devi, a local mother, had left her 6-month-old daughter, Kushbu, sleeping in the shade of a primary school. It was a lapse of a few minutes, just enough time to finish a chore. When she returned, the cradle was empty. The panic was instantaneous. The village mobilized. They searched the tall grass, the wells, and the outbuildings. But as the sun began to set, the whispers started. The villagers didn't look for a kidnapper from the city. They didn't look for a wild animal. They looked for a small boy with messy hair and bare feet. They looked for a When they confronted him, there was no chase. AMARJEET didn't run. He stood there, looking at the frantic crowd with a terrifying lack of concern. When asked where the baby was, he didn't point to the woods or claim ignorance. He smiled. It wasn't a smirk of defiance. It was the joyful grin of a child who had just finished a puzzle. He led the police and the villagers into the fields. He pointed to a patch of dirt covered in dry grass. It told Tim with a voice as calm as if he were describing the weather that he had taken the baby, hit her repeatedly with a brick, and buried her. He even showed them the blood-stained stone. The police were How do you handcuff a child whose wrists are too small for the metal? How do you read rights to a boy who hasn't yet learned to read a book? As the investigation deepened, a much darker reality emerged from the shadows of the Sada household. This wasn't AMARJEET's first time. It wasn't even his second. The year before, a 6-year-old cousin of AMARJEET's had disappeared. Shortly after that, his own 8-month-old sister was found dead. In both cases, the cause of death was the same: blunt force trauma. In both cases, the perpetrator was the same: the quiet boy in the corner. Why didn't anyone stop him? This is the psychological crux of the case. AMARJEET's parents knew. They had found the bodies. They had seen the blood on their son's hands. But in a community governed by deep-seated social stigmas and poverty, they chose to bury the truth along with the victims. They believed they could hide the evil. Why? They thought they were protecting their son, but in reality, they were feeding a predator. Psychologically, this is known as enabling the void. Because AMARJEET faced no consequences for his first 2 murders, his brain received a powerful chemical reward. He learned that killing was a game where he always won. When psychiatric experts finally sat down with AMARJEET, they were met with a wall of emptiness. Dr. Shamshad Aide, who evaluated him, noted that the boy was a sadist who derived pleasure from inflicting pain. In the world of forensic psychology, we look for T, McDonald triad: bedwetting, fire starting, and animal cruelty. AMARJEET skipped the animals and went straight to humans. He told the doctors that he liked the way the baby screamed, and he liked the silence that followed even more. He didn't have a motive. There was no why in the way we understand it. He wasn't hungry, he wasn't angry, and he wasn't abused. He killed because it was a sensory experience that he enjoyed. To him, the life of a human being had the same value as a toy that he could break to see how it worked. The legal aftermath was a nightmare of bureaucracy. Under Indian law, a child under the age of 7 cannot be held or convicted of a crime. Since AMARJEET was 8, he fell into a gray area. He couldn't be sent to prison. He couldn't be sentenced to death. He was placed in a remand home, a juvenile reformatory in Munger. For years, he lived in a state-sanctioned limbo. He was given therapy, he was given an education, and he was given a chance to reset. But can you reset a brain that lacks the fundamental hardware for empathy? Can you teach a color-blind man to see red? or a psychopath to feel guilt. The clock kept ticking. In 2016, AMARJEET Sada reached his 18th birthday. In the eyes of the law, his debt was paid. The boy's serial killer was gone, and in his place was a legal adult with a clean record. Because of laws protecting the identity of juveniles, the state of India gave him a clean slate. He was given a new name, a new identity, and a bus ticket away from his past. The records were sealed. The photographs were suppressed. Think about that for a moment. Right now, as you watch this, there is a man in his late 20s living somewhere in a crowded Indian city. He might be working in a shop. He might be sitting next to a family on a train. No one around him knows his real name. No one knows what he did in the fields of Bihar. We want to believe that people like this are cured by time. We want to believe that the childhood monster stays in childhood, but psychopathy isn't a fever that breaks. It is a personality architecture. If you saw him today, you wouldn't see a killer. You'd see a man with a quiet face and perhaps a polite smile. But if you looked closely, you looked into those wide, dark eyes you'll see the boy who asked for a biscuit after bearing a baby. The story of AMARJEET Sada isn't just a true crime case. It is a chilling reminder that sometimes the darkness doesn't wait for adulthood. Sometimes it is born, it is fed by silence, and then it is set free. Somewhere, a man with a new name is walking among us, and the only thing more terrifying than what he did is the fact that we will never know his face until he decides to show it again.